Tsutomu Nihei's Tower Dungeon has this uncanny ability to plunge readers into a surreal, ominous world where survival is uncertain, identity is fragile, and the nature of the Dragon Tower, which is literally at the heart of this plot, remains a haunting mystery. Fair warning, folks, more than being some simple dark fantasy, this manga weaves existential horror, shifting architecture, grotesque creatures, and philosophical musings into its pages. As the protagonist Yuva and fellow adventurers enter its corridors, they encounter beings that aren't fully human and some that are certifiably monstrous. But beyond such surface-level threats, Tower Dungeon subtly presents profound questions too. In this video, we're going to delve into these and more, starting with the crazy cool characters in this manga, then moving on to some of its brilliant themes. If you haven't already seen our dedicated Tower Dungeon manga video, where we take you through the entire story, be sure to check that out on our channel. Meet the monsters of Tower Dungeon manga, Tsutomu Nihei's most terrifying creations. This is one dark fantasy manga you don't want to miss. It drags you into a world of eerie megastructures, grotesque creatures, and unsettling mysteries. The story follows Yuva, a young farmer who's off on a perilous quest to rescue a kidnapped princess from the enigmatic Dragon Tower. That's a colossal floating dungeon teeming with non-human entities, BT dubs. Nihei is known for his intricate world building and surreal creature designs, so his Tower Dungeon was no exception. The place itself is a labyrinthine nightmare, populated by beings that defy conventional fantasy tropes. The non-human entities within its depths are more than mere obstacles, they seem to be pieces of a larger puzzle, each hinting at the tower's true nature. Whether they're remnants of a forgotten civilization, experiments gone wrong, or manifestations of the tower's mysterious will, these weirdos add layers of intrigue to our protagonist Yuva's journey. Let's explore some of the most unforgettable non-human monstrosities within the tower's depths. And then there's the tower itself. Let's go, starting with the Shambling Undead. These creatures are what's left of past adventurers who failed to ascend the tower. Think Walking Dead meets The Last of Us, and you'll get an idea of how messed up these zombies really are. Unlike traditional zombies, though, these undead still retain pieces of their former selves. They actually mutter half-remembered phrases and try to complete tasks they started in life. Though we didn't see any zombies completing their grocery shopping or clearing their internet search history, we saw enough to realize these undead are super dangerous. Some even wield weapons with surprising skill and will be frightening opponents to anyone who accidentally crosses their vengeful path. Human Graftings. A grotesque fusion of flesh and machinery, these abominations are the results of failed experiments conducted by an unknown force living somewhere within the tower. Sick, we know. Their bodies are riddled with mechanical implants, some of which seem to have minds of their own. Creepy. Looking like a fusion of cyborg and golem, these crafting entities move in unpredictable ways, making them difficult to fight, let alone understand. Uncanny automatons. Unlike the crude mecha found in some fantasy settings, the tower automatons display an unsettling level of intelligence. In other words, they're not dumb. Some appear to be ancient guardians of the tower, and others seem to operate independently, pursuing unknown goals. If that wasn't sus enough, their designs range from humanoid figures with porcelain faces to towering constructs with shifting insect-like limbs. Talk about diversity. These certainly aren't your average mecha, just ask anyone who's met them, or rather anyone who's returned alive after. The Giant Chimus Insect. See, there's this guardian on the 50th floor of the Tower Dungeon, and it's anything but friendly. This entity is a fusion of human and insect body parts. Its bulbous neck has more insect-like eyes sprouting from it, so it can simultaneously track multiple targets. When you see the Chimus insect move, you'll agree that it has an eerie grace. Its elongated limbs click against the stone floor as it hunts intruders. This creature also happens to be one of the mini-bosses, so to speak, that Yuva and gang have to defeat if they want to keep climbing the dreaded Tower Dungeon. The Chimus creature also drops a tiny sphere upon death. Let's just say this little item is going to play a vital role in what's to come. The Tower Dungeon itself. Also known as the Dragon Tower, this edifice is not only in the title of the manga, but it's also a character in its own right if you ask us. While not a creature in the traditional sense, the Dragon Tower behaves like a living entity. Its corridors shift unpredictably, its walls pulse with an organic vibe, and its depths seem to whisper to those who dare enter. Some have theorized that this tower is a sentient being, guiding or manipulating those who try to ascend it. The princess has been captured and is in the penthouse of this tower, so any hero, even those with a hero complex, has to zero in on floor number 100 if they're to get the job done. There's a saying, things can only go up from here. Alas, when it comes to the tower dungeon, anything that goes up almost certainly goes down. Rendezvous with the necromancer, cause this daddy of all monsters deserves his own spotlight. What was Tsutomu Nihei thinking when he created this thing? We saved the best for last, namely the necromancer, the big bad villain at the heart of this manga. Spoilers incoming, so gird your loins. This grotesque evil genius is who kidnapped the princess in the first place, sparking off a kingdom-wide panic, and later bringing all sorts of shady characters together. Wannabe rescuers have no choice but to brave the Dragon Tower, at the top of which is the necromancer guarding his royal prize. After our protagonist Yuva and his friends defeat the giant chimus insect, this guy makes a sickeningly suspicious move and asks them to bring him the ball the insect dropped to exchange for the princess. He's menacing enough that even Princess Ignalia later tells Yuva to do whatever it takes to take him down. There's a psychic dream projection moment there, which we don't want to spoil for you, at least not entirely. Remember those shambling undead that we mentioned earlier? All of their origin stories lead to the necromancer. He's created something that others have come to call necromancer larvae. These worms, spat out by some kind of serpentine creature no less, enter anything that dies within the tower and brings them back to life as undead entities, aka necromites, in service to the necromancer. Even torn corpses are patched back together and made ready to serve, foodie-style wording unintended. This also feels like the perfect time to cue that Evanescence song. You know the one. Anyways, the necromancer has also shown that he can use supreme psychic powers. There's this moment where our intrepid heroes come across giant basilisks and later realize that some kind of higher intelligence is guiding them. One of the characters, Iscale, even suggests they're necromites after we hear the necromancer physically commanding the basilisks to twist their own necks and drop dead. Yeah, that happened. Oh, and he also transformed Karash's bloody corpse into a huge black dragon. Whoopsie-daisy. There's one particularly jaw-dropping revelation that revolves around the necromancer. Apparently, this dastardly villain took over the body of the king. So, the royal family allegedly hunted the necromancers to extinction back in the day. One of the characters, Churafi, assumes that's probably why the necromancer even kidnapped the princess in the first place, after taking over the late king's dead body, mind you. But don't just take our word for it. Go read the manga and see for yourself. Core characters in Tsutomu Nihei's Tower Dungeon manga. Just like at the Oscars, where it can be enormously hard for a presenter to say anything after a Hollywood legend has left the stage, we're going to recover our scattered senses after talking about the necromancer in order to focus on some of the other main characters in this bloody brilliant manga. From a young farmer going on a perilous quest to rescue a kidnapped princess to the people he meets and befriends as he attempts to climb the colossal floating dragon tower, there's a lot to appreciate in this dark fantasy. Whether they're noble warriors, reluctant heroes, or sinister figures, they all bring layers of intrigue to Yuva's journey in this manga. We'll also be covering some important non-humans whose fates are tied to Yuva. So let's get started. Hello, humans! For those of you who aren't fans of Nihei, this man is known for his intricate world building and surreal character designs. This manga is no exception. No wonder the tower itself is filled to the brim with monstrous beings, and the human characters navigating its depths turn out to be just as compelling. After all that talk of monsters earlier, a part of us feels glad to explore some of the human characters in Tower Dungeon. Let's check out who they are. Yuva, the reluctant hero. Yuva is a fit farm boy from a small village and the protagonist of this harrowing tale. He's thrust into a misadventure when recruits are being mandatorily gathered to replace injured Kingsguards. He's at first naive and unassuming and equipped only with a pot lid for a shield, but the guy's got one heck of a strong will. His journey through the tower forces him to grow both as a warrior and as a person. Plenty of important revelations revolve around Yuva, most shocking of all being the possibility that he could have royal blood running through his veins. Yuva's super strength soon gains a whole new meaning. He can also communicate with the princess through a dream state, and let's just leave that plot point there for now. The princess, the damsel in distress. The entire plot is kicked off by the princess being kidnapped and taken to the Dragon Tower's 100th floor. While Her Highness, Ignalia, starts off as a classic damsel in distress, her role in the story hints at deeper mysteries about the tower and its origins. She is, in truth, a Draco metamorph, just like her family. But in the necromancer's clutches, she's unable to transform and get away. We see very little of her throughout the manga, but her presence and importance remain strong focal points. More so when Yuva shows he can dream communicate with her. Her rescue is basically a free-for-all. The kingdom's parliament announces that anyone who saves the princess will also earn her hand in marriage and be crowned the next king. Minzerbell, the royally conflicted captain. Captain and princess both, Minzerbell is the kidnapped princess's aunt and technically next in line to the throne. She is the late king's younger sister after all. All this is revealed much later on in the manga, but from what we see of her, it's clear that Minzerbell is no pushover. As leader of the Royal Guard Battalion, she's tough, capable, and intelligent in all the ways needed to tackle the kingdom's numerous problems. Minzerbell also inducts Yuva into the 7th Squad and approves Eloquo and Lillian too. One of her trusted guards, Rudim, comes up with a strategy to rescue Princess Ignelia, and Minzerbell starts using it as the best roadmap, or rather tower map, to save her niece. She also harbors a secret, namely the dragon-slaying weapon, which she keeps under wraps for important reasons. Eloquo, the secretive marksman. Eloquo is one of the Kingsguards tasked with rescuing the princess. He's a seasoned marksman, hardened by years of battle, and becomes a mentor figure to Yuva. He's also professionally close with Lillian, the mage accompanying them into the tower. He's also the leader of the 7th Squad of the Royal Battalion and is considered the best of his kind by Minzerbell herself. His unwavering dedication to duty makes him a great ally, but the ace archer also harbors a few secrets and is not always forthcoming while climbing the tower carrying out Rudim's strategy for rescuing the princess. He's got map skills. No further spoilers. Lillian, the fiery mage. Also known as Lillicen, a name only Eloquo calls her, Lillian is a fire mage with a temper to match. She's impulsive, quick to anger, intensely competitive, and fiercely protective of her friends. Her magical talents are a great asset in navigating the tower's many dangers. Lore-wise, Lillian is a Barbitos, whose powers have yet to be fully understood. She and Yuva later share some interesting chemistry, even though she still thinks he's a country bumpkin, adding to the fun and intrigue of the manga. Also, the way Yuva thinks about Lillian is sweet, honest, and innocent. Lastly, Lillian's clever use of some earrings and a curious magic capacitor puts paid to her cunning and skill as a fire-wielding battle mage. If you hear the words blaze, brand, bake, boil, burn, just get the hell out of her way. Hanapa, the fated sister. Hanapa is Yuva's sister. At first, we see her as a forgettable side player. However, a series of unfortunate events brings Hanapa into the dreaded Karash's crosshairs. More on this monster in a minute. Hanapa seems like a character we should be paying attention to because her later tie-up with the feline humanoid Goramna makes it seem like Hanapa will play a bigger role in the next Tower Dungeon manga. Maybe, who knows. That said, Goramna pledges her protection to Hanapa and encourages Yuva to return to the mission of rescuing Princess Ignelia. With Karash having Hanapa's scent, she isn't safe to go anywhere anyways. Also, Hanapa's own brother, Yuva, thinks her hair moves in a similar way to that of the princess. Curiouser and curiouser. Let's deviate now towards other characters. By that, we mean non-human but important characters in this superb story. Neobilians, catfolk. These aren't the bad guys, but we wanted to talk about them anyway. The Neobilians are some of the few sentient non-human races readers will encounter in this story. They're basically feline humanoids rarely seen in the world at large. Their agility and keen senses make them excellent scouts, but their motives remain unclear. Some of them help adventurers, while others seem to have their own agendas. Goramna pounces to mind when we think about Neobilians. She's one of the good guys and was once Lillian the Mage's senior at the academy. In the manga, we see her serving as a ranked officer in the Kingsguard. Goramna is from Tarvomia, same as the despicable Karash, whom she faces up to in a brave scene that makes us admire this Neobilian all the more. Marquess Karash, a nobleman with a monstrous secret. That's him. We've come at last to Karash, who's infamous for devouring people under the guise of diplomatic immunity. This whack job is as cruel as he is suspicious. His true form is that of a towering dragon-like creature, aka a Draco metamorph. His presence in the tower suggests a deeper connection to its mysteries. His entry into the plot is as a rescuer, although why exactly he wants to save the princess is not immediately clear. After a while, though, we realize that the kingdom's parliament has offered the crown itself as a reward. We're then left wondering, oh no, Kurash is definitely not the king anyone would want, except he himself thinks otherwise. Kurash is also a core character in this story, so you should read the manga to learn more. Iskale and Friends. Iskale is one of the good Draco metamorphs in this tale. He also has a curious background with room to explore. His servant, Rixel, adds to the diversity. Iskale comes from a distant land to help a large battalion of soldiers rescue the princess. That squad happens to be the kingdom's regular army, including ballista engineers. They're making their way to the fort outside the Dragon Tower. Iskale was supposed to travel with them, but ended up boarding the wrong ship. This Draco metamorph later teams up with a mixed group of interesting characters. They include Churafi and Gessi Ratwix both, a race of rodent humanoids. Then there's Sargon and his pet Krogi, which seems to be some sort of crow-goat hybrid. And, not to forget, a knight named Aradelia, who seems to be harboring some seriously dark secrets. Iskale maintains some kind of magical diary through which he communicates with a powerful contact. That contact happens to be Captain Minzerbell herself, making his entry seem like it has a royal seal of approval. But Iskale is not what you might call a fit Draco metamorph. He's actually injured and cannot fly like his race naturally can. However, his sharp intelligence more than makes up for that, as we discover in the latter portions of the manga. Iskale is, after all, a bona fide scholar. The Parliamentary Guard and Insectoid Politicians. First off, the Kingsguard and the Parliamentary Guard don't get along. The latter is tasked with maintaining order outside the tower, but their rivalry with the Kingsguard often leads to conflicts that hinder the rescue mission unfolding inside the tower. Talk about conflict. Now, about their insect-like parliamentarians. They're one of the more cryptic and unsettling factions in Tsutomu Nihei's dark fantasy world. These high-ranking figures seem to be involved in governance or decision-making across the land. Their insectoid features, elongated limbs, chitinous exoskeletons, and multifaceted eyes definitely give them an alien presence. They also indirectly support the manga's themes of distorted humanity and mysterious hierarchies. One notable moment involving these parliamentarians is when they discuss noble bloodlines. In a key scene, one of the insect-like figures reveals that the king and his daughters aren't the only ones with dragon blood among the nobility. This revelation hints at deeper political intrigue. In fact, it suggests that multiple factions may be vying for control. Some nobles, like the heartless Marcus Kurash, are already making their power move in this manga's Game of Thrones. The role of these insectoid parliamentarians in Nihei's story is still a little ambiguous, but their presence adds yet another layer of mystery to Tower Dungeon. Are they ordinary bureaucrats enforcing policies in a crumbling kingdom, or do they serve a more sinister purpose, manipulating events from the shadows? Given Nihei's storytelling style, we think their true nature will probably be revealed only in the next book. Secrets of the Dragon Tower, Hidden Philosophies and Dark Truths in Tsutomu Nihei's Tower Dungeon manga. To give you a taste of what you're about to hear in this section of our video, let's ask you this question. Are we all climbing our own towers in life? Nihei's profound message in Tower Dungeon seems to be intricately connected to that query and then some. This manga seems to be a labyrinth of existential dread, survivalist philosophies, and a creepy interplay between humanity and the unknown. It's a world where survival is uncertain, where the walls themselves seem to whisper, and where the line between man and monster blurs with every step deeper into the abysmal tower. You'll find ample parallels between this manga and Nihei's previous works, so fans will certainly not be surprised to read Tower Dungeon and discover it drenched in themes that challenge our understanding of reality, identity, and the nature of existence itself. This manga doesn't just tell a story, it wraps us in an oppressive atmosphere of dread, isolation, and existential horror. Let's check out some of those dark truths and hidden philosophies we mentioned earlier. A metaphor for the human condition. The Dragon Tower is the main setting in this manga. It's basically a vast, shifting structure that defies all logic. It's both a prison and a proving ground, forcing those who enter to confront their deepest fears. Much like life itself, the tower is unpredictable, devil-may-care indifferent, and filled with obstacles that test the limits of human endurance. When you think about it from this perspective, the characters who ascend the tower are not merely adventurers, they quietly transform into existential wanderers, searching for meaning in a world that has none. Survivalism and fragile identity. Nihei often explores the very nature of survival in his works. In Tower Dungeon, his protagonist Yuva starts his journey as a simple farm boy, but as he ascends the tower, he's forced to shed his old self and become a true survivalist. The deeper he goes, the more he loses touch with who he once was. This transformation directly hints at how fragile the concept of identity really is. Circumstances and the environment shape us in ways that force us to survive. Life, after all, often demands that we abandon parts of ourselves if we are to keep moving forward. And, much like life itself, the tower offers no mercy, no fairness, only a cold, cruel reality. Kill or be killed. The absurdity of fate. The tower's ever-changing nature is a clever reflection of how absurd fate actually is. No matter how much the manga's characters scheme or strategize, the tower soon renders their plans moot. This echoes the existentialist idea that life is inherently chaotic and that meaning must be made rather than found. The characters in the manga must adapt, not because they are destined to succeed, but because failure means oblivion. The conflict between humanity and the unknown. Nihei's works frequently pit humanity against incomprehensible forces. Take the Tower Dungeon itself. It's filled with grotesque creatures, mechanical horrors, and ancient entities that defy explanation. These beings aren't necessarily evil, they simply exist and don't give a hoot about human struggles. This theme reflects the cosmic horror tradition, where humanity is dwarfed by the vastness of the unknown. Looks like Tsutomu too is a student of H.P. Lovecraft's OG school of cosmic and existential horror, and we love it. The horrors of transformation. One of Nihei's signature themes is the loss of humanity. In the Tower Dungeon manga, the main characters encounter beings that were once human but have since been twisted beyond recognition. Some are fused with machinery, while others possess flesh that's been mutated in unnatural ways. The implication is clear. The tower doesn't just kill, it also changes those who enter it, reshaping them into something unrecognizable and inhuman. Isolation and insanity. Unlike traditional fantasy stories where friendship and teamwork lead to victory, Tower Dungeon presents a world where isolation is the norm. The tower is vast, its corridors are endless, and its inhabitants are few and far between. Those who do survive do so alone, and the longer they remain, the more their minds begin to unravel. The silence of the tower is oppressive, broken only by the distant sounds of unseen horrors. Not to forget the looming threat of the necromancer himself. Got to hand it to Nihei, the man knows how to set the mood. The truth about indifference. Tsutomu Nihei's works often explore the idea that the universe is not hostile, it's simply impartial and uncaring. The creatures within the Dragon Tower do not exist purely to torment humans, they simply exist and are ancient, unknowable, and beyond comprehension. This element of cosmic horror adds to the sense of helplessness that soaks this manga through and through. Some readers will reach the realization that no amount of bravery or skill can possibly change the fundamental nature of the tower. The fate of past adventurers. The tower is littered with remnants of those who came before, shambling undead, fused monstrosities, and cryptic inscriptions left behind by bygone explorers. These fragments hint at a cycle of endless struggle where adventurers are doomed to fail and their bodies are repurposed into the tower's ecosystem. The deeper the main characters go, the clearer it becomes that their survival is not the tower's goal. It might well be a byproduct of its cruel design. The princess's role. The kidnapped princess is more than just a damsel in distress. Her presence in the tower suggests a deeper connection to its mysteries. Some characters even speculate that she's not a victim, but a key, an entity tied to the tower's existence in ways that aren't immediately clear. Whether she's a prisoner or a willing participant remains one of the manga's lingering questions. Bring on Book 2, Nihei. The origins of the tower. As with Nihei's previous work, this manga too thrives on ambiguity, forcing readers to piece together its cryptic lore. The tale offers tantalizing clues, ancient texts, cryptic murals, and the unsettling suggestion that the tower may not even be of this world. At first glance, the Dragon Tower appears to be a mere dungeon, some kind of bizarre and perilous structure filled with monsters and traps, a labyrinth of secrets where every shadow conceals a deeper mystery. But as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that the tower is more than just a building, let alone a battleground. So, where did the Dragon Tower actually come from? Some believe it descended from the sky, while others claim it has always existed, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Its architecture defies logic, its inhabitants seem to operate on some unknown agenda, and its very presence warps reality. Marvelous verdict! Tower Dungeon is a philosophical puzzle wrapped in a dark fantasy setting. It sometimes feels like a meditation on fear, survival, and the inevitability of change. It strips away comforting illusions like heroism and destiny, leaving behind a bare-knuckle struggle against forces beyond human understanding. Don't get us wrong, the manga is a masterclass in atmospheric horror and surreal fantasy. Through the tower's shifting architecture, the scary transformations of its inhabitants, and the unsettling revelations buried in its depths, Tsutomu Nihei has crafted a story that will linger long after the final page. His work hints at various aspects of the human condition and the quiet, unsettling realization that we're all climbing our own towers, searching for something that may not exist. Take anyone who enters the Dragon Tower, for instance. They aren't merely facing monsters, they're also coming face to face with their own fragility, hidden fears, and the possibility that the tower itself might be alive. At the heart of this Lovecraftian madness is a shape-shifting necromancer who seems to have a valid cause for occupying the Dragon Tower and kidnapping the princess. Nihei's storytelling is not about triumph, it's actually about endurance, and the quiet horror of knowing that some battles cannot be won, only survived. Go check out the manga for yourself, it's definitely worth the read, and be sure to see our dedicated Tower Dungeon video exploring every scene of this brilliant story. Until next time, thanks for watching Marvelous Videos. Punch those like and subscribe buttons and stay tuned for more deep dives into your favorite anime and manga.